don't pick that life picked you. Welcome to Sit Down News, and before I begin, I'd like to mention our sponsor. Ratchet is a clothing company from the UK started by a young man with a vision, a dream, and determination. They have various prints and styles for men, women, and children. I'll include a link to their website down below in the description for this video. By 1990, the Lucchese family was in disarray. In May of that year, both the Lucchese bosses, Vic Amuso and Anthony Gaspipe Casso, were under indictment. An indictment that stemmed from the famous Windows case, where the Lucchese family were at the center of controlling over $150 million in contracts from the New York Housing Authority for replacement windows around New York City. Rather than face arrest, the Lucchese leaders decided to lam it. In order to run the family as fugitives, they made Al Diaco the acting boss. Out of the two fugitive bosses, Gaspipe took on the role of a renegade. He would secretly meet with Al Diaco to give orders who was next on the hit list. At first, the hits were approved by Vic, but over time, Gaspipe began dictating how the Lucchese family should run. The Luccheses were being run by a panel, one that included Al Diaco. The remaining panel members were Sal Avellino, Frankie Lastorino, and Anthony Boat Barata. Gaspipe would assign Al Diaco a young Lucchese soldier named Patty Testa. Patty would act as an emissary and schedule secret meetings for the fugitive bosses. Patty originally started out as a Gambino associate along with his brother Joey and Anthony Senna. They were all part of the Roy DeMeo crew. After the murder of Roy DeMeo, allegedly committed by Joey Testa and Anthony Senna, the Testa brothers and Anthony Senna would all become members of the Lucchese family. Patty was very close to Vic Amuso, Frankie Lastorino, and Gaspipe as well, but it was the Lucchese boss that had a special fondness for him. By 1991, paranoia set in the minds of the fugitive bosses. Gaspipe, still on the run, slowly took control of giving orders back home to the family. Al Diaco's new position was short-lived. He too became targeted by the Lucchese bosses, as I mentioned in a previous video. At this time, Frankie Lastorino was a key player in the family. Inducted 4 years earlier, he rose to a captain position and then became a member of the administration. Frankie was known to be a serious and very capable guy in life. But in that life, it is very easy to have your loyalty disregarded. On July 29, 1991, Vic Amuso was arrested at a mall in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We'll go more into further detail in another video about this. Vic's arrest only added fuel to Gaspipe's egotistical personality. With a hit list of names in his head, his next victim would be Patty Testa. Gaspipe knew with Vic on the street he would never allow a hit on Patty, but with Vic arrested, Gaspipe felt he had no one to answer to. From an early age, Patty was into cars, and by the time he turned 21, he opened his first dealership, Patty Testa Motor Cars. My mother, who worked a few blocks away at Fiera Mandera Collision as a secretary in Canarsie, Brooklyn, sent me to Patty when I wanted to get my first car. It was a Lincoln Town Car. On December 2nd, 1992, Patty was at his body shop garage on East 89th Street when he was shot about 10 times with a 9mm. Ironically, this was the same location Roy DeMeo was killed at in 1983. With Vic away, Gaspipe, although still a fugitive, felt he was the boss. Only one person stood in his way, Vic's brother Bobby. Vic sent word that any money from Lucchese operations should go through his brother, a captain in the family. Bobby Amuso was a loner who lived in a motel in Howard Beach called the Surfside that Vic and him owned. He mostly stayed in his boatyard where he kept a houseboat. The first thing Gaspipe told Frankie Lastorino was all Lucchese money should now go through him and not Bobby Amuso. And just as he did with the Patty Testa hit, he told Frankie the next on the hit list was Bobby Amuso. Supposedly, each morning, Bobby would call a cab to pick him up at the Surfside, so a fake cab was going to be used for the hit. Ultimately, the hit never did take place, and Bobby died from cancer years later. In 1993, the FBI intercepted calls between Gaspipe and Frankie Lastorino. They were able to zero in on Gaspipe's location, Bud Lake, New Jersey. In January of that year, the FBI arrested Gaspipe at the Bud Lake address. He'd been on the run for almost 3 years. During that time, he ordered over 20 murders. Vic was extremely upset over the Patty Tester hit and was made aware of the attempt on his brother, but Gaspipe, his friend and underboss, flipped, so Vic took his anger out on Frankie Lastorino. By 1994, indictments came down on the Lucchese family, including Frankie Lastorino. He also received word that he was shelved, stripped of his membership. Frankie served 18 years, and in 2013 I met with him. I was a month or two away from being inducted myself when a friend of mine at the time, Bobby Colello, wanted me to meet with Frankie. Every afternoon about 3 o'clock, Frankie would go sit on a bench at Charles Park in Howard Beach, and that is where we found him. Bobby introduced us, and Frankie and I started walking, and Bobby trailed behind us. Surprisingly, he brought up the Patty Tester hit. Basically, he said, "You've heard of Gaspipe's personality. What do you think would have happened to me when this fucking nut gave the order to kill Patty and that order was not followed?" He said, "I love that kid. I used to push him around in the stroller. Do you think I wanted to kill him?" I was just listening to what he had to say. He never brought up Bobby Amuso. But before I left, he said to me, "Look for the good in people. It's easy to find the bad, but look for the good, John." He then added, "I don't know you, but you're going to go far in this life." Not long after meeting with Frankie, I met with Joey DiBenedetto at Ragtime in Howard Beach. He said, "John, it's not a good idea that you met with Frankie. If it got back to my father-in-law, it would cause you a problem. So do yourself a favor and stay away from him." About a year later, my captain Big John said to me one day, "You're always in Howard Beach. I need to get a message to Big Frankie Lastorino." I found it odd that he was asking me, and I mentioned it to Johnny Sideburns. Sideburns laughed. "He's asking you because he's afraid to approach Frankie. Someone went to Frankie's house with a message, and Frankie didn't recognize the guy and pulled the rifle out on him." It's a treacherous life, and Frankie Lastorino went from being on the ruling panel of the Lucchese family to a guy who sits in the park. Personally, I think at least he knows he can trust the guy sitting on that bench. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description for this video.